just heard Thursday, I believe, they got a verbal commitment from their 2025 class, and he's a highly thought of player. And I don't remember his name, obviously. Every day this week, driving home, I drive about an hour from Morgantown back to Bridgeport, Ohio, and it always runs into the 6 o'clock hour. So I listen to Tony and those guys on their show, and of course they have those athletes on, talk to them every day. There's been a different one been on that's committed to WVU, and they get them on to talk about why and what they liked about it, and been some top shelf athletes as well. In fact, we saw a couple of things that 24/7 Sports, I think, did maybe ranking WVU's class at one point, and this is the 23 group with the portal and all that included. They had them. They were originally like 47th, and now they're up to 23rd in that class after signing some guys, because they signed a few good ones. I mean, of course, we say they're good, but we don't know. 4 stars they give them. Of course, I've seen players that were 4 stars signed with West Virginia, and they dropped to a 3-star. Which I never understood that. I mean, they didn't play yet. They're like, okay, he's not as good as we thought he was.
A little bit more on those stars than we can think. But I agree with you. I think that. You've been in positions as a coach where it's been discouraging and tough and some pressure. Like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. And I think Neil Brown's been in that spot for the last couple of years. But I've talked to Gorby and Matt Boyd and some guys. Neil Brown seems to win some games. Like, it's time to fire him. But then he wins that next one. You're like, let's keep him around one more week. And he's done that for a few years now. But I think he's turned the corner as far as recruiting, selling WVU as a top-tier program in the country. And I think there's some pressure, honestly, though, for a good season to come up. I think there's some athletes and some talent there. Yeah,
I think the pressure's still there. But like you said, he's, ever since he's been here. Of course, this is, to me, the curse of coaching at West Virginia.
Absolutely.
And, we've had some legendary coaches, which, everybody talks about Don Nealon and how great he was, which he was. Did a great job at WVU, moved us to another level. But I went to all the games back then, and I'm telling you now, there were thousands of people that would like to choke him.
Yeah,
all you heard in the stands was complaints, and then of course when Rodriguez gets there, same thing. Yeah, everybody just complaining and bitching and wanting to fire him.
Yeah,
and Dana Holgerson, same way.
Yeah,
Bill Stewart wasn't around long enough for him to get to him, but they would have. But now he's exalted because he didn't have to go through that. But these the fans really are hard on these coaches at WVU, and Neil Brown's been no exception. I mean, he hadn't done a horrible job. He ran into some tough circumstances. When he got here, as far as trying to get the players up to a certain par, the COVID year hit, which was a disaster for everybody. And then, the transfer portal, I don't know that he really had a good grasp on how to deal with that transfer portal. But it seemed like he's figured it all out.
Yeah, I heard a comment one time, not to interrupt, but they were talking about the transfer portal, NIL, and they said, Coach Brown, what do you think about this? And it was initially when it kind of started, and he said, I get paid a lot of money. I have to figure it out. Yep. And so he has, I believe, figured it out. And I think he's embraced that this state has a high expectation, and maybe we're a little spoiled from some of those Rodriguez years and a couple of those Nealon years that were big. Even Holgerson had a couple years that we were like a national championship, maybe bound. But W fans have to keep expectations in check and understand what we're doing. Big 12's tough. It's not the Big East. It's a bit tougher.
Yep.
So.
It's not the Big East. And I've always said this: we're not Florida or Michigan, Ohio State. We're just not.
Yeah.
And people have to understand that. Now, there'll be years when we can compete with those guys, but we're not going to be able to compete year in, year out.
No, it's just not possible.
Not right now.
No.
Now, if it depends on how this NIL thing goes, there's talk about collective bargaining, and there's talk about major finance companies getting involved with the whole thing and say, this finance company will control the Big 12, and they dump billions of dollars into it, and then they control the finances and pay the bills and stuff. If that happens, it should be a much leveler playing field for everybody. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I've heard talk of it. I heard a guy on Tony and M's show the other night who was one of those finance guys, and he said, this is a $1 billion industry, and for us as a finance company not to be looking at it for opportunities, we'd be crazy not to. And he said, and for those folks who are going to be having the need for a lot I mean staggering amounts of money, he said, why would they not look at us?
That's true,
because we can manage that for them. So I think there's going to be some changes, and that might level the playing field a little bit. But right now West Virginia again is in a tough spot, and I think Neil Brown pulling off those 9 wins last year. I'm like you said, it seems to win some games he shouldn't, and then lose some games that they shouldn't as well, and that's what's kind of kept him on the hot seat. And I think people backed off a little bit after this season, but now their expectations are through the roof, and I think those expectations are going to be right back where they were.
And I think, and his last part of it for me is, Ren Baker's done a great job, and I think that might be the guy that we have to focus on keeping more than anybody at WU right now is Ren Baker, his ability to fundraise, his ability for the NIL, and I think he's progressive in what we're seeing here.
Absolutely.
And if you're old school, you're going to lose, and so I think Nick Saban kind of realized that I'm not going to go that way. Okay, I got to quit. But Ren Baker's done a great job.
Yeah, and I got the opportunity to listen to Ren Baker. We went to Wheeling to the coaches caravan, and he was there and spoke. And I tell you, it's like Frank and I talked, Frank Fear I'm talking about Ren Baker. You just feel confident when you listen to him talk because he is so smart. Yeah. I mean, you can just tell, just a smart guy. And when he came here, he was known as a great fundraiser, and I think he's proven that to be. And he's done a heck of a job so far selecting coaches. Mm-hmm. And I think the fact that he jumped in and he extended Neil Brown a little bit says a lot. And I think as long as he's running the show, I think we're going to be fine. Yeah. And like you said, we better focus on keeping these people. I've heard
his name floating around in some of these bigger schools, but we better do a great job if you're WVU to keep him there and keep the stability continuing forward over the next few years.
I think all these fans, instead of trying to get rid of people, need to start trying to keep people.
Sure, yeah.
And, Neil Brown's fine. I mean, I've said this forever. All these guys know X's and O's. They all know football, okay? But what it comes down to a lot of times is personality, being a salesman, being able to promote, assistant coaches, et cetera, et cetera. You're not going to go out and find, anybody. I mean, the guy has, obviously, he has good morals. He's a quality person. Yeah. He got a lot of good characteristics about him. And he's also obviously very smart. And he knows how to coach football. Yeah. Just leave him alone. Let him coach. Let him coach. And I always said, of course, I don't know if we can do this in West Virginia. I don't know with contracts. And it used to be only give 1-year contracts. But I always said if I were him last year, about halfway through the season, I would have got on the air and I would have said, look, I'm giving him a 4-year contract right now, today. He's going to be here for the next 4 years, whether you like it or not. So let's all get on board. Let's all get on board and start donating money and start chipping in ways you can help instead of sitting back and being a keyboard critic, which is what they all are. And you know as well as I know from coaching, 90%,
that's going to happen.
Yeah, 90% of the people you hear from, you've forgotten less than more than they'll ever know. So you can't worry about that kind of stuff. But it is a little ridiculous. Sometimes wears me out. Same way with Joe Mazzulla. I got on those Boston Celtics sites and said, "What's wrong with you people?"
Yeah, he was on the hot seat, and they've lost like 3 games in mid-season. They're like, to get rid of him.
Get rid of him.
What are you guys talking about?
And I'm thinking, there's 30 other teams out there that would love to have Joe Mazzulla and Brad Stevens. Yeah. You people better quit wishing for things that you don't want to happen. And, I said he's the hardest working, smartest, most cerebral guy you ever want to meet. And he knows more about basketball than any of you will ever know about basketball. And he's done a great job communicating with these players that are basically his age. And they're producing for him. And he got an NBA championship. So, in other words, shout out and let the man do his job. He's good at it. The other, that was a little longer.
I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. That's what we bring them up for, talk about
good stuff.
We don't have a guest caller tonight, so we got time to fill. My other, I don't know how you'll feel about this one. I just kind of pulled this out. I said, this might upset some people, but I thought it was great. The governor from Maryland, Wes Moore, recently ordered the largest mass pardon of petty and recreational cannabis convictions ever in a single state. 175,000 criminal records and electronic dockets are set to be updated, which means they're going to be wiped out. They're not going to necessarily go in and expunge everything. They're just going to let these people out of jail. And I thought, come on, people. I mean, our jails are filled with people who have minor marijuana offenses, and it's legal in half the places in the country, and it's going to be legal everywhere before long.
Eventually, yes.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what is wrong with people? That we want to keep all these people locked up, and they don't understand that it's taxpayers' money has to pay for all that. And you got to house these folks, you got to feed them, you got to have people working there, and that's all tax money that goes to that. That could be a big relief on our jail system. To let these people out that really don't need to be in jail.
Yeah, and just from personal experience, my sister actually works at the federal prison in Beckley. She's the warden's secretary. Used to be a dental hygienist in the prison, and that's one of the things she talks about is how overrun they are. They're over capacity, and some of these petty things, such as marijuana. And I know it's a hot take, but these people deserve a second chance, I believe. And 175,000 people, that's going to free up a lot of funding and taxpayer money in that state. And you look at a state West Virginia, maybe it's something we need to consider down the road.
I guarantee you,
we're a little behind.
Oh yeah, it'll be legal, and they'll be selling in stores before we ever do anything about it. But when I was a magistrate, the only thing I heard daily was we got to get that jail bill under control because the county has to pay for their inmates. You know, people they send over to Southern Regional, that comes out of the county coffers to pay $50-some a day for every inmate that's over there. So you're getting that from one side, basically saying don't put them in jail. Then the other side, the public is saying you let these people just walk free for no reason, blah blah blah. You know, and I'm sitting here looking at it like, okay, you have people that get caught with marijuana or whatever, and they get sent to jail. They have no bail money, and they can't get out. They sit over there for weeks and weeks, and then they get hearings and all that, and you got to pay public defenders, and it just goes on and on and on. And I'm just like, what a waste of money, And I'm not saying that if you do something illegal, you shouldn't be punished.
Absolutely.
You should.
Yeah, you should be.
But when you do something that is borderline, like marijuana, which anymore is borderline, I don't think everybody all knows fully what the laws are on it. Obviously not really a danger, And and I always told my kids in school, because they'd ask me, "You in favor of legalizing marijuana?" I'd say, "Well, I would say this to you: if I'm out on the road driving and I'm going down, always said Jim Neff Hill, that's over in Hyco, where I drive to go home, and I said, there's a car coming the other way. I'm thinking to myself, and the car is, I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, now, has that person had a pint of liquor to drink?
Yeah.
Or did they smoke a joint?
Yeah.
I said, if they're going 90 mile an hour, swerving every which way but loose, I think they probably had the liquor.
Yeah.
If they're driving 20, think they're going 90, they probably had a joint. So I would rather face the joint guy that's going 20 and thinks he's going 90,
Yeah. And to take it further, both of us public school, teachers and administrators, coaches, how much funding can we use in putting those public schools to get those 175,000 people? That's going to free up a lot of funding in that state. And our kids deserve, I've been to those prisons on some tours and visits. The technology is amazing. The facilities are amazing. They're taken care of better than any place around. And those federal officers, workers at those prisons makes a good amount of money. They have great salaries, great benefits. But our kids in these schools deserve it. Let's try to keep kids out of those prisons by funding more of the schools and
education stuff.
Education, absolutely.
Do drug education even,
do something,
Big need here. Big need for that. So hats off and a big hell yeah to Governor Wes Moore of Maryland. Congratulations. All right, couple hell no's here real quick. First one. I come across an article this week that said the New River Gorge National Park and Preserve is the 7th most dangerous national park in the United States. And I said, the reason it's the most dangerous in the United States is because the people coming in here going to that don't know what they're doing. And they're out there climbing around in the mountains where there's snakes and hills and rocks and lots of people getting hurt and killed doing those things. So I thought, man, what a bummer. We're the 7th leading cause of, or the 7th worst in cause of death in the United States.
I bet you have some guys over that you had over in Anstead that could probably put a course together, give some tutorials of how to react and how to act here in West Virginia, and maybe get that to drop a little bit for us.
Guarantee you, they could scale a mountainside. They could catch rattlesnakes by hand and take care of them.
They could raft down the river, whatever you need.
They could raft down the river in a wooden boat if they wanted to. They could survive on what they catch and kill out there. I guarantee you they could. And but a lot of people come in here don't really understand. Even though it's beautiful, it's still dangerous, and you got to be careful out there. So come on, people, straighten up a little bit. Get us off this list. My next hell no, it's another story. I was sitting there reading one day, and I come across this story. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me! A video gamer from New Jersey, and I think he was 22, got into it with a guy on a video game. Now they have those video games. They talk to each other while they're playing. So he gets on an airplane in New Jersey, flies to Florida, stays in the hotel, goes to the hardware store, buys him some rope and hammers and stuff like that, goes to this guy's house and enters his home through a window and beats him with a hammer. The guy was able to fight him off and call the police. So they put him in jail. So now this guy is in jail for attempted murder over a freaking video game, man. Like, dang, ain't taking that stuff serious.
Oh. Well, you mentioned video games, and I noticed Marshall is actually doing this. It's kind of interesting. They're having a viewing party and a celebration party for the college football video game coming back here in July. It's been gone for a while because players took it to court over using their likeness in the video game. And so maybe we'll see some of this with some passionate fan bases playing against each other, you know.
Could get ugly.
Yeah, could be.
If this is any sign, it could get ugly.
I might not play now.
I think this is what started the NIL thing. You know, they're using these guys on that game.
I think it was Ed O'Bannon from UCLA and those guys that started kind of fighting back.
The first lawsuit, I think, was filed by a West Virginia player. I can't remember his name. He's a running back at West Virginia. I forget his name right now, but he was one of the first.
Now that you mentioned that,
he was one of the first to file a lawsuit on that, and that's what got the NIL started, name, image, and likeness. Yeah. And you know, I understand you know, the NIL thing. I do. I think the players should be getting paid. I just think that if we don't get some sort of structure to it,
I agree.
It's a mess right now, and I think
there's got to be some check and balances somewhere in this situation.
And hopefully we'll get to talk to Brian Jozwiak tonight, and he'll have some insight on that. We talked a little bit about the other night. I don't know that he's got back with us yet, but we got to get him linked up and get him on. We'll do that here in a little bit. You mentioned the schools. Another thing I heard, California's already done it. Indiana just did it. I would guess West Virginia won't be far behind, and I pity the instructors in the schools. Banning cell phones during school hours. And I know we all have mixed feelings about that. I mean, I dealt with it. You know, there were no cell phones when I first started teaching. Then I dealt with the use of cell phones and how blatant the kids just used them. They didn't care whether you paid attention to them or not. And a lot of rules were tried to be enforced, and you couldn't do it. You know, there's two sides to the story. I think a lot of research is coming out now showing that the amount of time people spend on their phones and on social media is really detrimental to the development of their thinking skills. And we can obviously see that in the whole country. And they're thinking now that with kids that it's even worse at a younger age. So they're talking about banning them in the classrooms. And I think California has already put it into effect, and Indiana did next. I don't know how many states
we have some counties here in our state that are doing that. And then some of the counties are leaving it up to schools. At Oak Hill High School, for example, our policy is you can't have them in the classroom, but it's not an official, you have to put it in this bag or you have to put it against this wall. I have a state mentor, Meredith Daler at Wheeling Park. They are actually getting ready to do it. It's going to be banned in the classroom. So when you walk in, you put it in a sleeve or you put it in a package. You get it. You can have it in the hallway or at lunch, whatever it may be. We haven't went there yet in Fayette County, but I could see it happening absolutely soon.
We had, I think, my last year or two of teaching, we had some rules like that where they weren't allowed to use them in class. But it's such a battle. I mean, it's just
because some teachers allow them, some teachers don't. You know how that goes.
And it's so hard. You know, you don't want to stand and have to argue with 5 kids every class period about it. You know, and they'll argue with you about it. Well, my mom needs to get a hold of me.
That's
my sister's sick, and she's at the hospital, and I got to find out what's going on. You know, and it's always something like that, and it really makes it hard. So what I tried to do my last couple of years was institute the use of it in class.
Well,
you know, just try to get them to use them. Look up, you know, you guys Google this or look on your phones and see what's happening here, and let's talk about it. You know, worked fairly well, but you don't always know, you know, what they're looking at and what they're doing. But another thing that happened, I remember the principal at that time tried to get it so the signal wouldn't go out of the building. And I told her one time, I was like, I don't think you can do that.
It's probably not legal.
No, I said, what if something happens and somebody needs to get a call out and then somebody dies? I said, we might be liable for that. I never thought of that. So we scratched that idea, thankfully. But
I think on top of that also, and is the AI stuff that's coming along with the cell phone. So that's another battle we're starting to see in the school system. Kids can write a paper by just asking their phone to do it. They can get math problems done. And so you either adopt it and evolve like we just talked about, or you're going to get left behind. So I hope that all our counties and school systems are looking into the best practices.
Well, I think
look like.
Fortunately, I think some of the like universities are already ahead of that curve a little bit.
I think so too.
I know where Sammy goes to school, he was telling me that if you use AI to write a paper, they have a program that they can put your work into, and it'll pull out anything that's AI and recognize it. And he said, so they check it. They check all their stuff. So that's something. I mean, that's probably going to cost a lot of money so you don't know if schools are going to be able to do it. But I'll be honest with you. I taught high school for 32 years. I could read any high school paper and tell you whether or not they had AI or not.
Yeah.
Because that artificial intelligence far outpaces a lack of intelligence.
Yeah.
So I could read any paper. Kids are horrible writers. And,
punctuation, anything like that, you can probably tell really quick. Yeah, absolutely.
Even the super smart kids struggled with writing just because they don't do it much anymore. So I think the AI thing would be a big giveaway. I think I could pick up on myself. I ought to start a business. AI code breaker.
Yeah, really. There's a business opportunity.
There you go. Like you, hopefully we'll stay ahead of learn how to incorporate it.
Yeah, incorporate. That's what I want to see is we try to adopt it and see what the benefits are from it. Obviously, I had a kid actually ask me for a letter recommendation, and I had a colleague say, go on AI, say it, and then all you got to do is fill in their name. And I did it, and within 10 seconds, I had this letter wrote that saved me time.
Yeah.
And
it can be beneficial.
Yeah, there's benefits, but we just got to be careful, how that's going to go forward.
You don't want to, further deaden the brain cells.
Yeah,
which we do a lot of that in the school system nowadays. So, all right, let's get a quick break in here. We'll see if we can get our special guest lined up. We haven't heard back from him, so we're not sure. He's up in Elkin somewhere, I think, out in the cabin. He was telling me. So he may not have any service out there. We may not hear from him.
Cell phones either. Yeah, can't even get on one.
That's right. All right, so we'll take a quick break. We'll be back here in just a moment on the New River Network. You're watching the Courtside with Coach Crist Show. Jason Blankenship, Greg Crist, coming to you live from McGuffin's Mystery Hole out on Gatewood Road. We'll be back after these messages.
Wrestling is coming to you every Thursday at 9 p.m. on the New River Network. See hard-hitting wrestling action from today's rising stars in independent wrestling. If you are a wrestling fan of any generation, let us introduce you to the hottest wrestling promotion in West Virginia. You can also join a live show at the Crossroads Mall. Retro Reset Wrestling is coming to you every Thursday at 9 p.m. on the New River Network. Said Wrestling is coming to you every Thursday at 9 p.m. on the New River Network. See hard-hitting wrestling action from today's rising stars in independent wrestling. If you are a wrestling fan of any generation, let us introduce you to the hottest wrestling promotion in West Virginia. You can also join a live show at the Crossroads Mall. Retro Reset Wrestling is coming to you every Thursday at 9 p.m. on the New River Network.
All right, welcome back to the Courtside with Coach Crist show. Greg Crist, along with Jason Blankenship, Dave Gorby, somewhere out in the wilderness today. We don't know what happened to him. Probably hanging out there on some cliff.
You may see him up there at the fishing camp. You never know.
That's right. And he might have went out in the New River Gorge National Park and had to save some tourists.
Well, hopefully he's not on that list of the top 7.
That's
so
right. So
hopefully he's safe tonight.
All right, we are at the point in time in the show. We are so excited. I said this the other night on Frank and I show, Jason, that doing this kind of stuff, obviously we don't do it for the money because we don't make any money, but we do it for the fun of it, and we do it because we like to talk to people. And the greatest part of it is we get to meet some fantastic people. And saying that, this is one of my all-time favorites, if not the all-time favorite. One of the nicest folks I've ever met, one of the baddest football players I've ever seen, and one of the biggest humans I've ever seen to go along with all that. Of course, I am talking about Brian Jozwiak, a former Mountaineer, great Mountaineer, consensus All-American Mountaineer, then 7th pick in the NFL draft with the Kansas City Chiefs, and we are absolutely thrilled to have Brian Jozwiak with us tonight on the Courtside Show. Hello, Brian.
How you guys doing, man? I appreciate you having me on. Anytime I get an opportunity to chit-chat about Mountaineer football and reminisce a little bit, always makes for a good evening. I can promise you that. And, of course, you can see behind me, fellas, you know where I'm at. I'm in Bowden, West by Guy, Virginia, just right out of Elkins, and down here at a buddy's camp, and awesome. just chilling out and enjoying some time before we get busy here in the next couple of weeks.
There you go. Yep, beautiful scenery there, and
probably not on the GPS anywhere.
Probably not on the
you can't find it on the GPS.
Looking for it.
Don't find it.
Don't look for it. And folks can look at the background there and see. How beautiful it is. So any of these recruits that are watching, hey, there you go. Look at this place, man.
West Virginia. Absolutely.
Nowhere better. Nowhere better.
Amen.
Speaking of recruits and getting there, we talked about this Wednesday night with you, and I just thought it was a great story. I laughed about halfway through all of it, but we were talking about your recruitment, your high school days. I think Jason was a high school football coach for a number of years at Oak Hill. Yeah. He'll get a kick out of all this. But how you got your start in football and how you ended up at WVU, and I'm going to shut up and let you go with it.
Oh, man. All right, here we go. Football for me, where I grew up in Maryland, football for me was, getting in a vacant lot and playing tackle football, in the neighborhood. And, of course, I was raised to be a competitor. My dad, from day one, there was always competition, shooting pool, throwing darts, out in the front yard playing, pickle, whatever it was. And with that comes there's always a winner and there's always a loser. And I learned at a very young age that winning is good stuff and losing sucks. So, we'd go out and we'd beat each other up. And every time I ever asked my mom, my dad was all for it, I think, but you know how it is, mom's rule. Mom's rule. Yeah. So when I asked, to play football at a young age, I didn't get an opportunity because my mother always thought I would get hurt. And then there was a moment, and I do remember that I had an opportunity. They both said yes, and I went in and I was like, there was weight limits, okay? Age and weight limits. So when I got old enough and they felt like I could handle it, I went in, and needless to say, I was a little overweight, a little bit. They wanted to see birth certificates, and they didn't believe I was that age. Anyway, I didn't get to play. So in 5th grade, I picked up a saxophone, and I started playing sax, and got pretty good at it, actually. In 9th grade, I was a all-state musician, and I actually had a tryout with the Peabody Institute, which is the conservatory in Baltimore. And I went down there and did the thing, and I missed it. I missed the opportunity by 2/100ths of a point. So, that kind of hurt. That stung a little bit, and maybe my enthusiasm then wasn't as high as it had been in the past, because I always thought I'd be a musician. I wanted to be a musician. Anyway, so I get to high school, 10th grade. Back then it was junior high and high school, 10th grade high school, and it's the first couple of days, and I'm in the gym. We're waiting to get uniforms and all that stuff, and I'm out there in the gym, and the basketball coach, Fred Unero, he was actually a West Virginia, to be honest with you, the Uneros, a lot of Uneros in West Virginia. And Fred called me over. Hey, big man, come here. He's like, you play basketball? I said, yeah, in the street, come on. And he said, hey, take this basketball, dribble down there, make you a layup, come on back. I kid you not, man. I took like 3 steps and the ball hit my foot, and it ran across the gym. And he said, go get that ball. Go make a layup. It took a couple minutes. I ran over there and got it. And I'm under the basket trying to make the shot, and I get the ball back, and he looks at me and he says, give me that ball, kid. And I threw the ball. He goes, listen, I need you to go see Art Reeves. He's the football coach. You go talk to the football coach. And I went down there. Honest to goodness, I went down that day and stopped in his office and introduced myself and said, hey, I would love to come out and play football. And he said, we start camp tomorrow. Here's the paper. Go get your mom to sign it. And I said, okay. So I went home, and I'm like, hey, I want to play football. And of course, my mom fought it a little bit, but she's like, you're in high school, you're in 10th grade. It's time. You can play. So I went in and turned my stuff in and got to start playing, and was going to practice every day after school, and just I fell in love with I just fell in love with the physicality of it. I like that, because as a big man, I was always taught, be the nice guy, turn the other cheek, take the ridicule, take the name calling and the punishment. But if you ever get hands laid on you, you're welcome to return that. Well, in football, I mean, we're beating on each other all the time. So I'm like, man, this is cool. And I started really enjoying it. And I'm walking in the hall one day, and here comes the freaking band director, man. And he makes a beeline to me, and he walks right up on me, and he goes, how come you haven't been to band practice? I said, Mr. Hardy, I said, I'm playing football. Oh, you're playing football, are you? Oh, you like that? You like getting beat up on and stuff? I said, yeah, I kind of do, actually. He goes, well, let me tell you something, son. This is, you can either go play football or you're going to be in the band. But, hey, it's either or. You can't do both. There's not time in the day. I said, I'll drop my sax off here later on, and thanks for the memories. And that was the last time, honest to goodness, that was the last time that I played the saxophone, man. I gave it to him and said, hey, I'm going to play football. And by God, that was the best thing that could have ever happened, because, I got to play on some, I mean, we weren't, we played at 3 p.m. We didn't have any stands. We didn't have a scoreboard. We had some guy sitting up in there with a chalkboard writing the score down. And it was just, but it was fun. It was an enjoyable experience. And I was a big kid. So, I started having some success on the field, and I started to get noticed. I told you the other evening, Greg, that, I got noticed because not so much of my coaches, but another school, a private school, Mount St. Joe, would always get recruiters coming through there. And that guy's name was Hal Sparks. He used to say, hey, you need to go see this big kid over at Catonsville High School. And, I started getting recruited. And, of course, once the recruiting wheel begins to turn, everybody finds out, things. And it was fun, man. I got letters from everybody. I had, scholarship offers from, 25 or 30 D1 schools. And I was raw, man. I was raw. I couldn't bench 225 one time when I got to WVU. All right. Seriously. But I was a big raw kid, and they saw, as we do now, when you recruit, you're recruiting not based on resume, but you're recruiting on projection. What potential does this kid have? Does he or she, in whatever respective sport, do they have the capability of getting better and growing and developing and becoming something more than they are now? They got to be able to see that. And so they must have saw something in me. And, I like I said, I got recruited and one day, Bobby Simmons, man, walked into the gym at Catonsville High School and introduced himself. He was wearing Mountaineer gear, of course, the WV. That WV wasn't around yet. Right. That didn't come on until a minute later. Yep. But, yeah, man. And he's like, hey, we want you to come visit West Virginia. And, I wanted to go to a school, hopefully, that, my parents could come see me play. And it was close enough to get home. And that's how that started. I took a trip and saw a brand new facility, people that welcomed you in like you had been there many times before, felt like family from the beginning, and sat in Coach Nealon's office, with my dad and with my mom, and he basically outlined the timeline and what was going to go down, and having an opportunity to come in and maybe play early was important to me. I wanted to play. I wasn't going to be no bench rider. And, so I wanted to be part of that. And they gave me the opportunity, and I signed a letter of intent. And the next weekend, I signed a letter of intent on my visit last week. The following week, I got in a plane with Tim Harris and John L. Williams and flew to Nebraska. And, of course, Nebraska at that time was, Tom Osborne, national championship, best strength coach in the league. And I go out there and it was awesome. I mean, it was really awesome. It was intimidating, but it was awesome. And, the only downside was it was, halfway across the country. My parents weren't going to make a chance to they might have seen me play once. And if it was ever on TV and that kind of thing. And I really didn't like that a whole lot. So I came back, and my dad picked me up at the airport, and I'm like, man, you got to take me back to West Virginia. I got to know if this is the right move. And he took off work that Monday and drove me back to Morgantown, and we walked around. And, as soon as honestly, as soon as I hit the mountains, and I felt like I was home. I felt like I was home. And, what really sealed the deal, though, honestly, is later that week, I believe it was Thursday, there's a knock at my door about 7:00 at night, and my mom goes and answers the door, and it's Coach Nealon, Donnie Young, and Bob Simmons, and they're all standing on our front stoop there in Catonsville. And my dad's like, ooh, I smell kielbasa. And friggin', they walked in and they had 2 big paper bags full of fresh kielbasa. My dad's like, you're going there, boy. You know what I mean? And and thank goodness I made such a great decision to go to West Virginia and be part of that. And of course, there's the story. That's how I got to West Virginia.
They sealed the deal with a
pretty good.
Awesome.
Sealed the deal. I was the cheapest NIL deal ever. Huh? 2 bags of sausage. We got this kid on the hook.
I was going to say, if it was today, you'd see Joe's on there with 2 big bags that come also on his shoulders walking out of a Kmart.
Oh, yeah, man, absolutely.
Kmart, get
he'd be on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, with all that,
All right. One more funny story from you. We thought it was funny. I don't think you probably thought it was too funny, but when you first started at WVU, you talked about that first week of practicing and what that was like for you, and that you was ready to go home. I want Jason to hear that story as well.
Well, I'll tell you this. 2 evenings ago, I was at Tropics in Morgantown, and guess who shows up with his golfing buddies? Bill Kurlavich.
Oh.
And you and I, we had just me, you, and Frank just talked about Bill and this story. And what's so ironic is, while we were sitting there chit-chatting about stuff, that story came up. All right. And it was, it was, anyway, so back then the freshmen came in 3 days early. Okay. So it was just the freshmen. And that year, 81, West Virginia only brought in 2 freshman defensive linemen, myself and Ernie Anderson. And of course, Kurlavs is he's the D-line coach. We beat the living crap out of each other for 3 days. For those of you that know Bill, you know exactly what I'm about to say. Those of you that don't know Bill, he's one of the most respected defensive line coaches ever in the history of college football, believe me. The guy has a resume that's unbelievable, but he has the inability of completing any sentence without using the F-bomb. And the F-bomb is utilized so eloquently you wouldn't believe it. I mean, adjectives, adverbs, adverbs, the whole schmear. The guy's brilliant. And he yelled at us for 3 days. And then them upperclassmen showed up. And remember who the upperclassmen were? Oh, yeah. Oliver Luck, Darryl Talley, Jeff Seals, Dennis Fulks, Todd Campbell, Curlin Beck, Daryl Miller. I mean, these guys were the carryovers from the 80 team when Coach Nealon took over. And so these guys show up, and now it gets brutal. I mean, it's 2-a-days. We don't have a grass field. You don't get water anytime you want it. They tell you when you get water, and sometimes they don't tell you can have water, so you go without water, okay? So it's brutal. It's the second practice of 2-a-days, and we're probably 6 days in with the upperclassmen. So I'm beat to crap. My brain's like Jello. I can't even remember my name. I mean, it was wild, and because I was a big kid, but I wasn't in any kind of great shape. That's for damn sure. And oh man, it was brutal. And after every second practice, one of the equipment guys would run up to Coach Neal and hand him this little index card. And on that index card were names of players that violated rules. We had all kinds of rules everywhere. There was rules. You had to weigh in. You had to weigh out. That was a rule. If you didn't do that, you ran. So all those names that were on that index card got called out. And, of course, I, being the large body that I am, any extra running was out of the question. So I made sure that I was doing everything right. And they said that I left my chair out of my locker, which is crap. I didn't leave my chair out of my locker. I looked at it 5 times. I mean, I later found out it was Tally. Tally pulled it out of my locker so that I could – well, they were testing me. They wanted to see, what kind of a warrior brother I was going to be to them. Yep. All right, so that's how the locker room forms. And anyway, so I get out there, and I got to do a 100-yard bear crawl. And if your knee hit the ground, you had to start again. Wow. So I restarted maybe 4 times and finally got to the other side, then had to drop to the ground and log roll back. Well, I don't know if you've ever log rolled on 124-degree AstroTurf. I can tell you this. About 4 rolls into it, puke's flying out of my face mask. And I'm like, the only thing I can hear is Kurlav. You get your effing butt moving. I want to go to dinner. And then the sound started getting muffled because I was like on the edge of death. I mean, I'm going to die right on this turf. So I get, and honestly, the only thing that really saved me was I could hear players yelling, "Hey, come on, big man, let's go finish." And I'm the fat kid last, and I finally get across the line, and they scoop me up, and we do a big break in the end zone, run back in the locker room. Well, I didn't run anywhere. I still had puke dripping off my face mask. So I get back to the locker, and I get in my chair, and I'm sitting in my chair, my head's in my hands like this, and I'm like, I'm done, man. I don't need this. I don't want this. It's too freaking hard. I'm done. I can't do this. I'm done. And I get a hand right here on my shoulder, and Kurlav got right in my ear hole. And he said, hey, big guy, you hang in there, man. You hang in there. You're going to be special. You're going to be special.
Goes a long way.
And he walked away. And honestly, man, it For about 2 minutes, I was like, wow, oh, yeah. And then about 2 minutes later, I was like, nah, I'm done. I looked at my helmet again with all that puke on it. I'm sitting there sweaty, just nasty. Everything hurts. Everything's beat up. And I'm like, that's it. I'm done. That was really nice of him to be that way, but nah. So I go home. I go back to the dorm room. I didn't even go to dinner. I went back to the dorm room. I'm calling my dad. Dad, you're coming to get me. So I called my dad, man, and he gets on the phone. And I'm like, Dad, man, I can't do this. You got to come get me. He goes, come get you? I don't think so. I said, what do you mean? I said, come get me. He said, no. I've already turned your room into a den. You ain't that way. You can't come here. I said, let me talk to Mom. And I hear my mother. Hey, Bob, who is that? It's your son. Well, what's he want? He doesn't want anything. Oh, come on, Dad. Let me talk to Mom. Mom, my mom's in the back going, let me talk to him. No. My dad gets back on there. He said, listen, son, if you really want to quit, go ahead. But don't come here. You go join the military, go get a job. You're on your own, buddy. I'm done with you. I'm like, well, shit. Excuse my language. I said, hey, no, I'm good. I think I'll stick it out. And I did. And dagnabbit, about another week later, I had worked myself into the starting lineup. I was the starting nose guard as a true freshman. And of course, and then I got a knee injury early on. I took a medical red shirt my freshman year. I never played in the game. Which actually, when you look back on stuff and how things happen in your life to, those moments, those critical moments, excuse me, that change the course of your direction. Those two knee injuries were probably a blessing because I was moved to offense. Of course, that didn't stick too well in Labs crawl, but they moved me to offense, and the rest is history. We won a lot of great football games. We had great locker rooms. My senior year in '85, our team captains were voted on by the players, and I was the offensive captain for the '85 team, and of course, the consensus All-American thing, Greg, like you had said, that's pretty special, and of course, back then. There was only like maybe 16 or 17 bowl games. Now there's like 4,000 of them. But back then, you didn't get in a bowl game with 7 wins. Right. 8 wins usually didn't get you in. You had to win 9 games or more. Yep. And we got into them bowl games, and of course my senior year, as a consensus guy, I got to do all the really cool stuff, man. I played in the Hula Bowl, spent 2 weeks in Hawaii. Was on the Bob Hope show, was in Playboy magazine, wearing pads and helmet. You remember
if you had your clothes
Playboy
on.
All-Americans. I wasn't in there doing a spread. Trust me. All right.
He wasn't a Playgirl All-American.
I wasn't in Playgirl. Nah, that was Burt Reynolds and Joe Namath and all them guys. Yeah. They don't put O linemen in Playgirl magazine. I can promise you that. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You went on, after that All-American selection. Of course, you were a first-round draft pick, which don't happen in WVU very often. You're the number 7 pick, and you went to the Kansas City Chiefs. What would have been a great career was held up by injury, but again, when you look back on it, might have been a good thing. Yeah. But your time in the NFL. What was the biggest difference in that and college? I know everybody's bigger, stronger, faster, that sort of thing. But as far as adjustments are concerned, what was different about that than when you first went to WVU?
Well, what you just said right there, that game at that level is so cerebral. It isn't funny. Everything is between the ears, and the other component is speed, and the other then component is the example that I always used. When I was in practice at WVU in college and we were going against the look team, they were comprised primarily of younger guys, walk-ons, third, fourth team guys made up those scout teams. And believe me, we had great scout teams. They gave us great looks. Right. When you're in the NFL, everybody on that football field's getting paid. Right. Everybody on that football field is damn good. And you're going to go against these guys every day. When I was a senior in college, I think I played against maybe 4 or 5 All-Americans. The Bruce Smiths, the Tim Greens, the the Chris Dolmans, the Bill Mosses, those guys. And, you got one of them guys every, couple games maybe. In the league, you got them every play, all day. And, that was the biggest difference is everybody around you is good. And, there's somebody trying to take your job every day. And it was quite the experience. It was really quite the experience.
Do you have any? This may sound like a crazy question, but I know when you left there, obviously you didn't want to. They didn't want you to. But do you have any contact with Kansas City, the Chiefs, at this time, or was that just kind of end whenever your career ended?
You know what? The only individual that I've ever heard from, and it was like through Facebook, is a guy named Alan Wright. Alan is still the equipment man for the Chiefs. And every now and then, and I talked to a handful of players. Again, I was there 3 seasons and really played, 2.5. I think I might have had maybe 3 or 4 starts in there, played maybe 28 or 30 games along the way, mostly extra point, field goal, and that kind of stuff. And again, I had a real bad nerve burner. I got a burner, big bad stinger, and that never really let up. I would get them things all the time, and then I had a hip injury, and you know what? Hey, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay. I got to do something that only a small fraction of people get a chance to even sniff around, and I got to do that, and that was quite the blessing.
Yep.
But honestly, and I say this all the time. I mean, that's we're talking 35, 40 years ago now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's all about the relevance of now.
Right.
And when I got done playing, it was at that time, what next? What now? And and I think I told you guys just the other evening on your show, the first person that I called when I got released was Coach Neal. Mm-hmm. I didn't call my parents. I didn't call my wife at the time. I called Coach Neal and told him, hey, I just got cut. And, he's like, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, I honestly, I don't know. He said, I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to get your ass back to Morgantown and you're going to finish your degree.
There you go.
No matter what, you got to do that. And of course, I wasn't the greatest student. I used to joke around, literally that, my major was eligibility. And, but you know what? At the end of the day, when I came back, in order to graduate with a degree, I took 41 hours in 2 semesters. Wow. All right. 41 hours in 2 semesters, got a 3.87 GPA, was on the dean's list. So, when you set your mind in the right engagement, you're gonna do good things. You're gonna make good decisions, and that was the best decision I ever made, because I went and got my degree, and then I got hooked up down at West Virginia Wesleyan in Buchanan, and got my master's in education from Wesleyan. Got hired on there and started a 30-year-long coaching and teaching career. Left there, went to Winter Haven High School with Brad Matheny. Brad was a D-back back in my day. We played on the same team. He's from Kingwood. Yep. He called me up one day. He said, hey, man, he goes, I'm going to get a job as a head coach. You want to come O-line? Come coach the O-line in high school? I was like, you know what? Yeah. And I looked outside. It was like the middle of December, and it was cold and snowing, and he's down there in the heart of orange Tropicana country down in Central Florida. I was like, okay. So went down there. And, heck yeah, man! I couldn't handle the cold no more. I did enough cold weather activity to last a lifetime.
That's
so
right. I agree.
Yeah, and I had a blast, man. I never felt like I worked a day in my life, honestly. And
that's awesome.
It's just I retired about 2 years out, and just trying to enjoy what time I have on this earth as much as I can. The older you get, the more challenging it becomes to experience those life firsts. Yeah. But I'm exploring for them all the time, and I can't complain.
Awesome. So, awesome. You mentioned there a minute ago some of the guys that you played against when you're at WVU. Who's just out of curiosity the best player you ever played against? Best defensive lineman?
Wow. I mean, honestly, for me, it would probably be a toss-up between Bruce Smith and Tim Green. Tim Green was the All-American D tackle at Syracuse.
Yep.
And you watched him, and he was a little undersized. I mean, he was only like 6'2", about 245, 250.
Yeah.
But he was one of those players that was absolutely relentless.
Yep. Yeah, he was
relentless. Good. I mean, I'd get into him, get a block, and think I had a great block, and I'd hear, number 72, Tim Green on the stop. I'd be like, what the hell? How'd he do that? He's like Houdini, But anyway, and Bruce Smith, Bruce, the great Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Famer from Virginia Tech. He and I had some brutal battles. I'll tell you a quick story about that. That whole week, this was '84. We're getting ready to play Virginia Tech, and that whole week, every time I show up in the building, one of the secretaries would call me out and say, "Hey, you got a message?" And I'd be like, "Oh, no, cool." You remember them little pink slips while you're out? And she'd hand me the note, and I'd look down at it, and it said, "Hey, while you're out, Bruce Smith called and said he's going to come up here Saturday and kick your ass." And I'm like, come on, man, are you serious? Well, this goes on the whole week. Every opportunity them coaches get, I come back to my locker one day, and there's all kinds of Bruce Smith stuff taped to it. I mean, I was losing it, right? So it's the day before the game. Friday walkthrough, right? Friday walkthrough. And we're in a locker room, and Virginia Tech's out on the field. They're working. So they're finishing up, and they're starting to leave. And here we are. We're just coming out. So back then, we came out this one side, and the other team goes in the other side, Mountaineer Field, right?
Yep.
Same kind of setup, only a lot more seats.
Right.
Anyway, we're coming in to the stadium, and they're leaving. And I just happen to look over, and there's Bruce straight across from me, and I lost it, and I took off. I was going to go beat him up right there. I swear to God, I started running, and the only thing I heard Coach Dealing, "Jozwiak, get your ass back here!" And I stopped dead in my tracks, and I went, "All right, that's good. I got you tomorrow, you freaking." All right, so I go back, and we do our workout, and it's Saturday, and it's game time. And I mean to tell you, man, this is an important game.
Yep.
All right, we all know that rivalry, what it was, but for me, we were on ABC, nationally televised game, and this is me against the best. I mean, he won the Outland. He was the best D-line player, blah, blah, blah. And so it's right. We go out, they're doing the coin toss and all that stuff. And I'm pacing up and down the sideline like a freaking caged animal, man. And I'm going up and down the sideline, and I got my head down like this. And I look up, and he's straight across the field from me. So we just start pacing like two tigers getting ready to fight. He's over there, I'm over here, and we're going up and down, and we're just maintaining this eye contact. Man, I'm telling you, that was, woo, buddy. And we got in there, and our game plan, obviously, anytime we would play a stud like that, our game plan was designed to neutralize that threat. Right. And we hit him, remember Rob Bennett?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that name from Buchanan?
Absolutely.
Big tight end.
Yep.
Scotty Barrows was the guard.
Yep.
Ronnie Wolfley's the fullback. We hit Bruce with we double teamed the crap out of him. We trapped him. And anytime it was backside, I'd cut him. And he had this real high voice. He'd be like, "Damn, 77, why you got to cut me like that?" And I'd be like, "Oh, well, get over it there, buddy. You're in our house now, man." And, we ended up, I can't remember losing to Virginia Tech.
No, we didn't lose very often.
I don't think we did. Those two were probably the two of the top ones, but you know,
I guess a lot of.
I will be honest with you. One of the toughest players I played against was every day in practice. Brad Hunt, down there from Ripley. Brad was a menace, man. I saw Brad beat the living crap out of Bill Fralick, and Bill Fralick was one of the best freaking linemen ever. I mean, played at Pitt. Of course, we all know how we feel about Pitt, right?
That's right.
Right. Yeah, you know.
That's right. That's right.
I learned to hate Pitt the first day. The first day, I hated Pitt. I didn't even know why. I didn't even know where Pitt was.
I think that's mostly we don't know why. We just hate them.
Yeah. You just gotta.
I tried to get Brad on my show. I got a buddy from Ripley went to high school with him. I said, "Why don't you ask him if he wants to be on?" He's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll send you his number." Blah blah blah. He ghosted me.
Well, if you're going to have him on, hey Greg, Hey Greg.
Yep.
Hey, if you're going to have Brad on, you better get ready for a 4-hour show.
Talker.
I was just with Brad yesterday. Honestly, I was just up in Morgantown, and he's a character, man.
Well,
he is a character.
Next
but
time you see
he
him,
made me.
The next time you see him, you tell him, say, "Hey, that Coach Crist ain't a bad guy. I'll join him one night." Yeah, join him on
you
the
know
show
what though? Talk about a humble person.
Yeah,
Brad, and again, like we talk, our experience goes 30, 40 years ago.
Right.
I mean, for the most part, who cares about a bunch of old has-beens? You know what I mean? Now, it's appreciated though. Listen to how I'm saying. I mean, I'm humbled. That all these years later, I'm still recognized.
You are relevant. That's right.
And I appreciate that big time.
Absolutely.
But honestly, the what we do with Children's Hospital is what keeps me tied to the university and the relevancy of it. That and my kid's still, my kid's coaching.
Right.
He's the head football coach at Clearwater High School.
Right.
And Blaine Stewart recruits that area.
Oh,
so not too long ago, I get a picture set. Thor sends me a picture, man, and it's him and Blaine in his office. Of course, we all know, the Stewarts are tremendous football folks. But man.
Yeah, I got to talk to Blaine at the coaches caravan not too long ago. Nice kid. I enjoyed talking to him. He's I've had him on the show before as well. Before we get to the fundraiser, I wanted to tell this quick Bruce Smith story. I had just got out of college in '84 and was coaching football, Golly Bridge. We go to a coaches clinic down at Virginia Tech. Okay. Well, part of the clinic was they let us go out on the field and watch practice. And I'm standing there and I see this guy and I'm like, my God, that guy is humongous.
Looks different.
And I'm like, look how fast I told the coach, I said, watch this guy. So we're watching him practice. I'm like, that dude's incredible, man. I didn't have a clue who he was. So I go home.
His first two steps.
Yeah. Oh, man.
His first two steps were scary.
Yeah. Oh,
were scary. And if you missed, if you didn't hit your target when you were supposed to, he embarrassed you. Yeah. I mean, he would absolutely embarrass you.
Yep, he was good. But, and I said that for as big as he was, one of the quickest. I just never seen an athlete like that so big. He was amazing. Now, you mentioned the fundraiser, and I do want to, before we run out of time, we want to talk about that a little bit. Tell us what you got going on this next weekend up in Morgantown. It's a fundraiser, and you do great work with that. Yeah. It's so much fun and just a good feeling to look at what you're doing and the events you have. And what all happens there and the money you raise for the Children's Hospital. So go ahead and take it away and tell us all about that.
Well, thank you. I certainly appreciate it. I mean, my buddy Scott Sears and myself been pulling this thing off for 34 years. And that connection to Children's Hospital was born out of Coach Nealon and his then wife, Mary Ann, developed a relationship which was a very fledgling really an idea of a hospital within a hospital. That was Dr. Bill Neal's vision. And we used to go with our jerseys and we'd go visit the kids. And I fell in love with it, man. It was special. Special time. And of course that was Coach Nealon. That was all part of, his plan to keep your feet on the ground. And I tell you, you'd be running 40s and he'd be yelling, you think about them kids that are up there laying in the hospital going through what they're going through, and you're bitching about running a couple of 40s. You know what I mean? and so that relationship, developed, and I used to go over there even on my own time and just pop in on kids, checking on them and stuff like that. Made friends with many families over those years. And then, of course, when I went to Kansas City and then released and came back to Morgantown, I was like, I want to do something. I want to do something. And I met with Scott Sears and a guy named Bill Jones. Matter of fact, that's the cabin I'm sitting down here in Bowden. And I got with those guys, and they had a little restaurant, and they helped me put this thing together and maintain that relationship with Children's Hospital. And during that time, back in West Virginia, I became a on-the-air telethon host with a great group of people, and developed great relationships with Peggy Myers, who then was the development coordinator, and we just kept it going and kept growing it. And today, again, we're 34 years in. That's pretty special. And it's called the Legends, Mountaineer Legends. And we bring back a bunch of guys that are all, Mountaineers, and, a lot of them played in the NFL, and always a strong list of characters that come and be a part of it. And, we do now it's a 3-day event, years past, it's been a 2-day event. We come in, we have a pregame gathering at Tropics on Thursday, which is a heck of a good time. We do a silent auction, and all the money raised on Thursday goes to the Haas Foundation. Jeff Hostetler, of course, his relationship with Children's Hospital is unprecedented. Right. And, what he has done for them, raising money and awareness. And so anyway, the money we raise Thursday goes right to the Haas Foundation. And that's a heck of a good time. We're actually we're calling it a roast, but how the heck you coach? You can't roast Coach Neal, and there's nothing to roast him on. I mean, the guy walks a line that, but don't worry. Yeah. We have some stories we're going to tell.
Maybe the use of the word dadgummit would get him.
Dadgummit. Jesus criminy. Jiminy crickets. Yeah. I mean, oh yeah, man. He had that crooked finger. Anyway, we're gonna let all the guys get up and we're gonna give them a minute, 2 minutes, and they can tell a Don Nealon story. Awesome. And we got a whole list of guys going to be part of that. And then we got some great entertainment. So it's a heck of a good time Thursday night. There at Tropics, and then Friday is the golf tournament. We played at Lakeview now. We've been there 7 or 8 years now, and that course is in great shape. And I can tell you this: first time since before COVID that we've got a sold out field again. Awesome. So we're back to the standard, awesome. And that's really wonderful. And then on Saturday we're doing something a little different this year. We're going to do this was the brainchild of Aaron Beasley. Oh, right? Beasley's like, man, how come we don't bowl? Okay. I said, hey, how about we do bowling with the Legends?
There you go. That's
awesome. I mean, it's one thing when you're out on the golf course, you kind of hardly see anybody. You know what I mean? Right. There they are. But we're going to be in a bowling alley. You think there's going to be any trash talking in there? Bunch of old gray-haired freaking guys throwing the balls down the aisle. We're going to have, we're going, and that's at Kegler's. Yep. And we got room there, so you want, if anybody wants to come out and be part of that, it's good time. Time. And again, we're raising money for the kids. It's all about them kids. And my son was born at Children's Hospital, and went through some complications. So not only am I a supporter, but, we're survivors. Yeah. And we saw it behind the scenes. And what people do. And, of course, now, you go up there in Morgantown, you see what's there now. It's 10 stories, and it's Children's Hospital from top to bottom, and that's pretty daggone special. We got the best Children's Hospital anywhere, and that's a beautiful thing because it's for our kids and our families. And not only ours, but, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Ohio, they all come to Morgantown to get treated because it's such a great setup.
Yep.
And proud to be part of it.
Yeah, I think I said the other night that we all either have been affected by the Children's Hospital or we know people that have. have their kids there. So yeah, what a fantastic thing you do with the fundraiser. That's awesome. It's 11th, 12th, 13th. You do have room for the bowling. We may come up on the bowling day and just do a little video and
it'd be good.
Watch a little bit. So we'll see.
Well, hey, I tell you what, we're going to have a good time, and old Daryl Talley's going to be in that day for it. He'll be in Buffalo Thursday and Friday, but then he's coming in Friday evening, so he'll be there. And we got some special things we're going to do for him because of where he's at. And, we need the bottom line is we need to get that man in the NFL Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. We've been preaching that.
He's deserving.
Yeah, we've been preaching that on here for sure. Yeah. So you wouldn't have an objection to us coming up and showing a little bit of this, would you, on Saturday?
Hey, I'm always the more merrier.
Put him on the spot.
Yeah.
Make him.
I got to clear it out with the committee.
There you go.
Hey, at the end of the day, though, you guys are welcome.
Well,
come on up and hang out, be part of it.
We always feel the more publicity, the more finances can be raised, so we can get.
Amen.
We can talk to them on here about donating. So make sure. We'll try to do that. We'll try to get there on Saturday. All right. One more thing before you go.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if you remember this from the first time you did my show, but we have a segment we call Shoot to Three. I was a basketball coach for 30 years. So that's where that comes from. And we ask you 3 or 4, or just see how it goes. Rapid fire questions. We have a lot of rules on this game.
Okay.
Blank is our, he's our strength and conditioning guy. If you don't answer the questions within the time limit, he makes a trip to wherever you're at and kneecaps you.
I don't know if I can find Bowden in West Virginia, so he might be safe tonight.
Considering the fact that Joe's is a pretty big fella.
Yeah, I might have to get some weapons out. I'll let it be. Whatever he says, we're good tonight.
We'll change that rule. Yeah. We'll change that rule. We'll talk to the committee on that rule.
Yeah.
All right, committee decide we ain't have no rules. All right, so here we go. All right, first question on the Shoot to Three. What's something that you've done that you're never going to do again?
Get married.
We shouldn't have laughed.
Next question.
Go to number 2.
Both of us are married, and we're thinking, that's a good answer.
Hey, once is enough.
I told my wife, I've been married for 30. I better get this right.
Yeah,
33 years.
You better get it. You better.
I've been married 33 years. Be 34 in April. I've said to her many, many times, because she thinks, now, if anything happens to me, I think you should marry this person. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So I always tell her, I'm perfectly happy with the wife that I have. I'm perfectly fine with being married right now. But if anything happens to her, that shit ain't never happening again.
No transfer portal.
That's right. I'm done with the weddings. The only weddings I'm going to.
No transfer portal. We're done.
Hey, Blank, you don't mind if I use that?
Hey, you can use it, man. Use it at the roast.
All right, good. That's brilliant.
I've already written down majored in eligibility about 3 times.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one too.
Sort of. Yeah. All right. Good answer for that one. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Question number 2. Something that you're good at that you wish you weren't.
Oh, drinking beer.
You know what? That's a great answer because I have said on this show many times when I ask that question to people, I always say, back in my younger days, when I was at Glenville, wherever I was at, my greatest thing that I could do that I was good at that I wish that I weren't was I could drink 22 beers before I went and unsealed the cap before I had to use the restroom. I ain't proud of it. Hey,
that ain't bad. That's impressive.
I was good at it.
Talented, yeah.
Yeah, and now I don't even have to
You
drink
get your membership card.
Now I don't even have to drink a beer, and I get up 3 or 4 times a night and go, I don't guess there's anything wrong
with man. Don't start that stuff, will you?
Yeah. Hey, Joes, I'm the same age as you. I mean, you're maybe a year younger than I am, I think, maybe.
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm 61.
No, yeah. See, you're a young guy. I'm 62.
I'm 39, so I'll keep him out.
Oh, you're old as dirt.
Yeah, Blank's sleeping
39.
Yeah, I'll keep him out shut.
He's sleeping 12 hours a night.
I'm wearing underwear that's 39. There's no elastic in them anymore, but, they still fit.
Oh, my God.
All right, give me another question.
All right, question number 3. If nobody knew who you were and you were coming out to a walk-up song, what would that walk-up song be? And then you got to sing us a few lines.
What? Wait a minute. Say that again. Walk up. I don't understand.
Well,
Okay.
you know,
You mean like karaoke?
you know how baseball players. I don't know if you're watching baseball or not, but you know how baseball players they all got a walk up song where they walk up to the batter's box. You're going to be you're walking out on the Mountaineer field as a football player, and they introduce you Brian Jozwiak, and nobody knows who you are, but you got to have that walk up song to tell who you are, to explain who you are. And this is Brian Jozwiak, and we want to
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River.
Awesome.
Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like a breeze. There's my song right there, brother.
That's it.
I got chill bumps.
That's it, man.
Dang. Always gets me wound up. So.
Ready to go.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's go ahead.
It's either that or Welcome to the Jungle.
There you go. There you go.
That's a good one. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, I got one more then since these are so good.
Yes,
we'll
sir.
do one more.
Give him one more.
If you were going to die tomorrow, and it couldn't be from old age, anything like that, how you going to go out?
Hopefully in front of a big crowd.
All right.
Just go kill over dead in front of them, huh?
Just, and you know, I used to say, you know, coaching football, you know, hey, if I dropped, I'd love to be. I would like to be doing something that I enjoyed doing, you know. So if I was on a golf course or fishing, or you know, I don't want to be with my family per se.
Right.
If I, you know, that's one thing. If you're in a bed long period of time and
Right.
there's prep for it,
Gotcha.
I don't want to. I would prefer not to drop dead in front of my kids and my grandkids and that kind of stuff.
All right,
you know what I
Joes,
mean?
we don't need no analytics on this thing. We just want to know how
All
you
right,
die,
well, you know, I'm just saying.
Owen Smith has the all-time number one answer on that. We were doing this from Elliott's, my favorite watering hole, one night, and Owen Smith was our guest. And Owen
He's a piece of work.
Oh my gosh, he had a very distinct way of going out. It involved him and a woman, and you know, right at the very end, he kills over.
Oh,
To put it
hey,
in
well, like I said, wait a minute, time out. That could fit into the blank. I said, you know, hey, doing something you're enjoying
That's right.
doing.
That's right.
That'd be a hell of a way to go out. I got no problem with that.
Right. You know,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Of course, maybe it's me, but at 62, I'm just like, I'd rather have it like when I have a good bowel movement, I feel very happy, you know? So maybe I'll just kill over.
I got a lot to look forward to then, don't I?
Yes, you do. Growing old is lots of fun. That's
can't
for
wait.
Sure.
Oh, man. Hey, there ain't nothing easy about it.
That's right. Yeah. He needs it.
And, you know, and especially when you're, as a youngster, when you're hard on that thing.
Right. That's right.
You know,
That's
whatever it be and however it be.
Yeah.
When you're hard on it, you know, you get a little older, man, you know.
Starts
Heck,
catching
I
up.
took all the mirrors out of my house. I don't even have a mirror in my house. I walked by one day. I just got out of the shower and I'm walking and I looked in the mirror and I'm like, I look like a freaking melting candle. I'm like, what the hell? Saggy boobs and freaking. I'm like, that's it. I'm taking all the mirrors out.
No more mirrors.
Gone.
Saw a shirt the other day. We all need to have. It says "Man boobs are sexy." I have to get that shirt.
Oh, hey. If any of you ladies out there want a really good mad bod, I got one.
I used my.
Hey, and I'm not married.
Yeah, my great line was always behind these rows of fat and big boobs. There's a big old heart.
There you go. There you go.
Ladies, you want
That's
it or
what they
not?
want. They want the heart.
That's
Hey.
That's right.
Oh yeah. Okay, sure.
Yeah, the
I always
heart
said, hey,
or the
no matter
billfold.
what, I got 340-pound of butt behind me.
Oh,
That's all I'm saying.
If
That's
you don't-
enough said.
Yeah, and if you don't have a big old heart back there, if you got a big old wallet, all right,
Yeah,
with that
that's
too.
good.
Yeah.
we need to show this to the young guys getting married. This is good marriage therapy
This
right
is
here.
good
right
therapy
here.
for him. That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh, Joes! I'll tell you what, man. I like staying here for another hour and do this. It's just fun.
Oh, hey, I appreciate it. That was fun. That was fun. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, we appreciate you. You tell any of your drunk buddies up there want to get on there for a minute, or are they all good? I keep hearing them in the background. I thought,
Hey, oh yeah, no, they're sitting out back. Look at this porch. I mean, look at this. This is where I'm at, man. I mean, are you kidding me? It don't get no better,
No,
man.
that's awesome.
I mean, down here with good people,
That's right.
enjoying the evening and looking at the mountains and you know,
Absolutely.
You know, it's right there on Shaver's Fork, so there's a lot of trout right there, you know, and it's beautiful stuff, man. I love West Virginia.
Yeah.
Love West Virginia. You know, I was born, I just had a birthday. I was at WVU 3 years before I realized that I was actually born on West Virginia's centennial birthday. I was born June 20, 1963. And of course we became in 1863.
Right.
And I was actually born on her centennial birthday, so I was supposed to be here.
That's right. There's West Virginia in you for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Amen to that.
That's right. Yeah.
Listen, Joes, man, I appreciate it. Bless you and all the work you do, and for being just a good human being.
Yeah.
Really enjoy having you on here. I have been. It's been one of the pleasures of my life to get to know you, and I look forward to talking to you again and spending time with you. Keep up the great work, and have a good time up there.
Thank you, man. Back at you, brother. Hey, cheers.
All right.
Cheers, beers, and Mountaineers.
There we go, baby. All right.
Thank you.
All right, Brian.
I'll talk to you,
buddy. All right, bye-bye.
All right.
Wow.
That's good.
I could have done that all night.
No, he could keep it going. Yeah, man.
Oh, he's something else, man. And he's so humble and so nice. I mean, all I do is send him a text and say, can you be on? Abso-freaking-lutely.
And you know, these guys deserve that, though. They put their, a lot of work into their careers at WVU, wherever it may be. And then the hospital stuff's amazing as well. So to allow them that time and to get to tell their stories. We're both older athletes now, and I appreciate when people ask me about what I've done and stuff. And so to hear these guys tell their stories, you can tell they loved it, and that was great.
And I tell you, I've had my son go back, watch some YouTube videos and stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm going to tell you right now, there has never been a better offensive lineman at WVU than that man right there. He was
just nasty.
Awesome. I mean, he was big. He was huge. He was a beast, but he could move and strong and just, you watch him, when you watch those YouTube videos, he just toys with those guys. He just knocks them around everywhere. It's just so much fun to watch him. Yeah. And then to see what they do afterwards is what's great. Mm-hmm. And he does, like I said, 34 years raising money for the Children's Hospital.
Yeah, and I think you agree. I think WVU fans, and if you played there and you had a successful career, the state embraces you.
Yeah,
and I think that's something that recruits may not see.
Right.
Is 20 years after your career, you'll be welcome to come back anytime. Right. You won't pay for a meal. You won't pay for anything. People love you, and I think he realizes that as a part of his post-career.
Yep. You're still a hero here.
Forever.
No matter what. Yep. All right, man. That was good stuff right there. That winds up the show tonight. I know we went overtime, but you know what? It's well worth it because
it's worth it,
a lot of good laughs, and we really enjoyed Brian Jozwiak. Man, what a guy. A lot of fun, a lot of good stories, and a lot of good work that he's doing up there at WVU for the Children's Hospital. We appreciate him. That's going to do it for tonight. We appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging with us through overtime. We went into overtime tonight, and Darren's one will have to pay for that, not us. So we appreciate everybody tuning in to the Courtside with Coach Crist show here on the New River Network. We look forward to coming to you again. We don't know next week what we're going to be doing yet, but we'll let you know. The fourth falls on Thursday, so we won't have a show on Thursday, but we'll let you know what's coming up. So we appreciate everybody for tuning in. Have a great night, everybody. Good night.